Helen, can you hear me? Commissioner Barton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We have a little situation before we start the meeting. We have exactly a quorum. And our vice chair did not respond to polling to see if she was going to be here tonight. So we can, the business rules say that you can be excused if you'd rather not chair tonight, and we can have the members present elect to chair for the evening if you prefer. It's up to you.
And there's two scenarios. One, I almost didn't log in, which would give us not a quorum. What I need to do is, I will chair, and if you will give me just a minute to get some sheets up here.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to log in, but I went to the doctor this afternoon and they started removing all the stuff from surgery. But just give me, tell them it's going to take me 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and I'll chair the meeting. And
Okay.
maybe you can just explain to them why it's going this way.
Yeah, actually, they're hearing you now. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Oh, she's there.
Helen, we have you on live. I just turned.
Okay.
It was on. And I do see that Kimberly joined as well.
Okay.
So I
Very
don't,
good.
if you guys want to discuss live, or if you have a way to contact each other off site, or if you're wanting to chair.
Sure, Kim, you're ready. You want to go ahead?
Sure. Do you need me to chair tonight, Kelvin?
Either way, I can chair or you could chair. I had a surgery about 10 days ago and I just was down at UW Seattle but you could chair if you'd like to. Either way is fine.
I default to you, Kelvin. As chair, you can make the official decision. If you want to start and pass the baton, that's fine, or I defer to you.
Well, I can start, but you're deferring to me. I will go ahead here. Just a second, and I moved my hardware around. So I don't have my mouse, but I'll use the mouse pad, and let's undo the video. And just a moment here. Oh, I'm trying to get the video to open up. Oh, let's click that one. I think I'll take the beginning and then I'll let you go ahead. Would that work for you?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Okay. There we are. All right. And Tammy, you're all set?
I just need to start recording whenever you're ready.
All right, let's go ahead. Good evening. The May 11th, 2023 Planning Commission, Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. And Tammy, would you call the roll for me, please?
Sure. So, Commissioner Barton,
Yes.
I'm starting with you this time.
Here.
Commissioner Dahlquist,
Here.
Commissioner Desmani. Commissioner Hanson is not going to attend tonight. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes, present.
Commissioner Jefferson was a maybe, and I don't see her. Commissioner Lund,
Here.
Commissioner Masseri,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Dalen.
Yes.
Hey, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Please join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and it's time now for department update. Assistant Planning Commissioner or Director Steve Roberts, would you give us a department update, please?
You bet. So we're going to talk tonight about what's on our agenda. Our next meeting, we're going to talk about home-based businesses. And you'll get to learn all about those in the next, we'll have them on the next packet for updating that code. I also want to report that I'm very happy to report that we were hiring 8 positions in our department, which is a significant number considering our size. We've hired or have offers accepted by 7 of the 8. We're down to 1 more. We're doing final interviews for that person next week, or for that position next week. And we hope to fill that. So we're really excited about getting staff back up.
All right. Thank you. Now it's time for open session for public comment. And Planning Commissioner Coordinator Tammy, would you take over that, please?
Certainly. Just gonna see who the attendee is. Okay, before I go through the spiel, Matt Berry, if you're interested in sharing for the public comment part of the meeting, not public hearing information, those will be later. We'll be doing 2 public hearings tonight. One will be for the capital improvement plan. The other will be for proposed zoning code amendments to several districts. So if you're waiting for those, that's fine. But if you'd like to speak to the general public comment, not including either of those, could you raise your hand? You can press *9 or the hand icon. Okay, he's not raising his hand, so I believe he's waiting for later. So we do not have any other attendees tonight.
Okay. Right. So it looks like we have no one for public comment. Is that correct, Tammy?
That's correct.
Okay, so now it is time for commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Okay, appears that there are no commissioner comments. So it would be approval of minutes for the April 13th, 2023 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve? Commissioner Masseri.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second for approval?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing that there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, Tammy, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Lund,
Abstain.
Commissioner Masseri,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Dalen,
Abstain.
Commissioner Dahlquist,
Abstain.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Barton.
Yes.
Okay, well, that carries. 3 yeses, 3 abstaining.
Okay. And so some of you are aware, I had surgery about 10 days ago, and I just was down having stitches and hardware removed at UW this afternoon. And so I am not in attendance, and I did ask Commissioner Lund if she would help out, and it's our assistant chair. And Commissioner Lund, would you take over the proposed amendments and the proposed zoning code amendments?
Yes, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
And I should have made a commissioner comment that for some reason, some of the communication from Whatcom County is settling going to my junk mail, even though it should be in my approved senders list. So I have unexpectedly not been responding to Tammy's requests because it's been landing in my junk folder and I didn't notice it till this afternoon. So, but I'm happy to take it over now. And yeah, let's discuss the capital improvement program for Whatcom County facilities. So is there a staff presentation? It looks like Matt's on the line tonight.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it there?
Yeah, it looks like your desktop.
Okay, it doesn't have the presentation. Okay, let me what's going on there.
You might need to stop sharing. Well, I don't know.
Let's see. Now my share button disappeared altogether. Huh. Well, I'm not, let's see here. I might need your help, Tammy. I don't know what, oh, okay, hold it, there we go.
No, that's okay. You got it?
All righty, I think we're good. Okay, you seeing it now?
See
Yeah.
it now.
Presentation, okay. All righty, got that squared away. Sorry about that. So my name is Matt Ahmet, for the record, representing Planning and Development Services. And tonight we're talking about revising the 6-year capital improvement program for 2023 through 2028. So we have county parks and facilities management representatives to describe the projects and answer commissioner questions. So the 6-year, the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan indicates that the 6-year CIP should be updated every 2 years. The last CIP was approved by the County Council in 2022, and the next comp plan update is scheduled for 2024, and that'll cover the time period from 2025 through 30. However, the county has identified park and government facility projects it wants to start and or complete in the 2023 and 24 timeframe. So in order to use real estate excise dollars, REIT dollars, these projects have to be in the 6-year CIP. Therefore, the county is proposing to amend the parks and government buildings chapter in the CIP, which will also modify the total cost chapter. So the county parks department is proposing to add 14 projects to the 6-year CIP, as shown on the screen. And we would note that costs for some of the other park projects have been kind of moved around and modified on page F9. So we have the Parks Department briefly describe each project before we move on.
Great. So Bennett Knox, Parks Director. Thanks for allowing me to come tonight to speak to these projects. I can be very brief, and if there are other questions that you'd like some more detail on any of these, please let me know. The first two, the Bellingham Senior Center and the also got Bellingham Senior Center and Simeonu Park. Those are sewage pipe issues that have come up this year that we need to address. Need to address them using REIT funding. So therefore, we wanted to make sure we got them on the CIP for this year so we can move forward with those. Those are kind of critical issues affecting those two parks that need to be addressed. The third on the list is Hovander rental property conversion to a maintenance shop. That is something that has been in the parks, a need for parks for quite a while. I need to kind of step back a little bit because some of the changes that we're proposing here, moving some of the dates, particularly as they relate to Hovander Park, is kind of by design. What we've seen is we have a number of Hovander related projects that we want to take a step back and be able to plan these in a more coordinated fashion. So if I can jump down to near the bottom of the list, there is an effort to add to the CIP the Hovander Park Master Plan. So that is a desire that I have to go forward with that sort of planning process for Hovander Park, and then take a step back and look at some of these other projects that are related to Hovander in a more holistic fashion, so that we can make best decisions that affect the community and utilize public dollars most efficiently. So going back up to the list, the Hovander rental property conversion. This is a facility that is out of the floodplain. This rental facility, our current maintenance shop is in the floodplain. We have a desire to, look ahead and move the maintenance shop to a better location within the park. So that is really what that is about. But unfortunately, the condition of the rental property is rather poor. So in order to be able to renovate that, we do look to move forward with replacing the roof and assessing the facility. So that's what that project is. There is a need in the community. This was passed by council, funding for a forest management plan. So this is fourth on the list. $100,000 was allocated out of park special revenue. So that has some capital implications potentially. So we wanted just to get that on the CIP, even though it's not using REIT dollars. We do have some staff that need to work on that. So in case, utilizing their staff time, we want to make sure it's on the CIP in case. The fifth on the list is we are due for an update to our comprehensive park recreation open space plan. It is currently expired. Our current plan expired a year ago. We are looking to do a very abbreviated, kind of expedited update this year. Now that we have a new parks design and development supervisor on board, manager on board, excuse me. But what you're seeing on the CIP is we look to do a more robust update to that plan in 2024, which coincides with the update to the comprehensive plan. Also corresponds to some efforts that we have, such as the Hovander master plan. So we do want to do a more robust update in 2024, 2025. And so that's what you see on the CIP. The update that we're going to do this year, which is more expedited, is going to be done using in-house staff resources. 6 on the list is there was a request through the community, it's the Acme Valley Association associated with Van Zandt Community Hall. They have been requesting for some time a support for a renovation of their facility. We have an agreement with the association there that they are responsible for the maintenance of the facility in order to help them be able to reduce their operating costs and increase their revenues. They are looking at a major renovation of the interior of the facility to increase the legal capacity so they can have more events that have a higher capacity, potentially charge more revenue, increase their revenue, improvements of the inside that make it a facility more amenable to rental. So a request was made to the state for funding. State allocated $502,000. So the county is putting in $50,000 commitment in refunding. So this is a partnership project that Parks will be managing in close coordination with them. We're very excited about that, as are they. Next is Plantation Range. We have received funding from the State Department of Ecology, $700,000 that is currently being utilized. So we wanted to make sure we account for all the funding that we have in place right now related to that project, which is to deal with lead contamination at the site and move towards remediation. So we wanted to make sure we had both sources of funding on the list, which is the $700,000 from ecology. It's being used this year, and then moving the previous $655,000 was allocated to next year, which is when we anticipate beginning the remediation work. Next on the list is Canyon Lake Community Forest access. So there's an access to this property is through a Sierra Pacific Industries forest road. We are currently, the county is negotiating an easement with Sierra Pacific to allow us to have access along that road to Canyon Lake. It's really been inaccessible to the public for a number of years now. So in anticipation of that, and that is currently being negotiated, and in anticipation of that, we would want to put this on the CIP because we do anticipate the maintenance plan for that is going to require us to spend some capital dollars for some improvements in terms of gate access, signage, things like that, as part of the implementation of that agreement. So that's that one. When I first started, I mentioned the Bellingham Senior Center sewer replacement and the Stimiamu park sewage line replacement. We would like to have an annual, the annual ability to accommodate these kind of emergency capital projects, repair projects. So that is the next item on the list, which is an annual allocation of refunding to serve these kind of emergency park capital improvement needs. So we can be more nimble in our response. Next on the list is Sumas Senior Center roof replacement. We have an agreement with the city of Sumas. This is a shared facility. We have half of the building to operate the senior center. The other half is operated by the library. So our responsibility under the agreement for roof replacement is the shared cost. So we're responsible for 25% of that. And that is what is in the CIP to cover that repair. Next on the list is Stimson Family Nature Reserve parking lot. This is a project that fell off the list. We had it reallocated. We had some staff vacancies for 2 years that really delayed this project. So getting that back on the list, we had some upgrades to the cost, but that is to pave the parking lot for the nature preserve. Next on the list, Lighthouse Marine Park siding and roofing is another project that fell off the list because we didn't have adequate staff to put that back on. Reallocated the funding, so we need to have it on a CIP so our parks design staff can work on the project this year. I think I previously mentioned the Park Hovander master plan. A little bit of detail on that is, yes, we have these multiple projects related to Hovander. Since I'm new, we've wanted to take an opportunity to really look holistically at this park. It has not had a full master plan in decades. Actually, the 1973, there was a concept plan done. In 2009, I understand there was a circulation plan done in-house without a lot of public input. I'm a big believer in public input in terms of park planning. So we want to take the opportunity to step back and do a really nice master plan for this park, given that we've got a lot of projects that we want to do that need to be coordinated. We've also got a number of stakeholders like the Master Gardeners Club that have plans for the facilities that they're managing within the park. We've also got Fish and Wildlife with Tennant Lake. So there's just a lot of coordination we would like to do, and that's the need for this master plan. And so we're excited to add that to the list. Finally, it's another project that we need to increase the cost because of delay. The facility, our headquarters office on Mount Baker Highway, has an old radiator furnace system, fuel oil operated, rather inefficient, does not have air conditioning in the facility. So we're due to have that upgrade to our facility just to keep us up with the times and to beat the heat, I guess. So those are just general overview of the projects we'd like to add to the list. Again, it's, as was teed up at the beginning, it's so we can utilize REIT dollars. Our 2 design staff that we have in order to keep up with these projects are REIT funded. So we just really have a need to update the CIP to reflect these projects. Any
Right.
questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Bennett. Okay, so County Facilities Management is proposing to add 4 projects to the CIP as shown on the screen, and we're gonna have facilities now give a brief description of each project.
Hey, good evening, Planning Commission. Thank you for your time tonight. We are proposing to add 4 projects to the CIP list. They're on that sheet in front of you. I'll quickly go over what the background is of each. We have 11 courtrooms in the courthouse that were all remodeled in 1993, which was actually after the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the public side of these courtrooms are, for the most part, are accessible. What is not accessible is the judge side or the staff side of those courtrooms. You know, traditionally, you'll know that judges sit at a higher platform along with the clerks and such. And we have found ourselves with staff that are disabled. And what we are proposing to do is convert over a period of time at least 1 courtroom in each department on each floor. You may not know this, but there's 2 different types of courts. There's district court and there's superior court. And what we want to do is create at least one of those courtrooms on each floor so that as staff needs to in size of courts, they can be moved around so we can make accessibility. We can make reasonable accommodations for those folks when they're in the courtrooms. That is the first one. The second one, and I think we're all aware of the wave of transitioning to electric vehicles. I've been jumping up and down on this for some time, and I finally am getting some traction. What we're trying to do is do some planning for this year so that we can put ourselves in a very good position to leverage our money and get some grant funding so that we can begin to install electric vehicle charging stations, not only in our facilities, but also start to plan for our fleet transition. Very important. We're behind the gun. I've brought this up for many years, and it's just so many things the county's been trying to take care of. This has always been kind of pushed to the back because it's been in the future, but the future is here, so we need to think about that. The next one is the public defender. For any of you planning commissions that may have been around for a while, we did this a couple of years ago for the second floor of the public defender building. Now we need to do it for the first floor. The planning commission may or may not know that COVID has really impacted our court system, and there's a tremendous backlog of court cases, and because of which both in the courthouse, but also our public defender has hired substantially more lawyers, and the current configuration of that office just doesn't work. It's in cubicles for the lawyers, and if you know anything about talking to a lawyer, there's a lot of confidential conversations. So we need to do some hardened wall improvements on that first floor, like we did on the second floor, to accommodate the private conversations that occurs between the attorneys and their clients. And lastly, the assessor's office. Again, I talked about the courthouse being remodeled in 1993 when we added the section on the east. That was the last time. The assessor's office has been remodeled. Obviously, since 1993, they've added substantially more staff. And although we're not giving them any more space, we would like to be able to do a tenant improvement, which makes it more efficient within their space. Times have evolved and they don't need so much room for their mapping system. They just need more room for their staff. And so that project would allow us to just move things around and give them a little bit more elbow room to do their job. Well, that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of them.
All right, thanks, Rob. Okay, so with the proposed amendments, park project costs would increase from about 27 million to 30 million over the 6-year planning period. Government facility project costs would increase from approximately 67 million to 69 million. So overall, the 6-year CIP cost would go up by over $5 million. And we would note, just as kind of a side note, that under GMA, the local legislative body, in our case, the county council, has to review all comp plan amendments concurrently, no more than once per year with certain exceptions. One of the exceptions is for capital facility plan amendments that occur along with the county budget amendment. So both facilities management and the parks department will submit budget amendments to the county council along with this comp plan proposal. So in summary, we're asking for a planning commission recommendation on the proposed 6-year CIP amendments. The amendments will then go to county council for a final decision. So if you have any questions, we'd attempt to answer those now.
Commissioners, are there any questions for Matt, Bennett, or Rob? Seeing as there are none, Tammy, would you like to open the public hearing on this?
So welcome to the meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live. Audio is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. As noted on our website, members of the public may watch the meeting or join online or by phone. During the public hearing, do this part for it. Let's get to this, sorry. So if you would like to provide public comment on this topic, we will take that now. There is one attendee. If you would like to raise your hand, you can press the the hand icon if you're joined by computer or tablet, and you can press *9 to raise your hand if this is a public hearing that you would like to participate in. We have just one attendee, an online attendee. So if you would like to raise your hand, Matt, *9 or the hand icon. Okay, no attendees are raising their hands, so no one wishes to speak at this time.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, how would you like to proceed? We'll move into the work session for this. So Stephen Jackson, Commissioner Jackson.
I'll rip off the Band-Aid and just say that I'm fine with adopting the amendments as proposed. I don't have any issues with what's being proposed here today, so I think we should adopt them. And if you want me, I can make a motion even. I'm okay doing that too.
Would you like to make that a formal motion?
Sure, so I'll move to adopt the proposed amendments to the 6-year capital improvement plan as proposed.
Is there a second?
Oh, does that include the findings?
With the findings of fact. They're on the tip of my tongue there, Matt, but I forgot. With the findings of fact as well.
Is there a second?
I can second that.
Is there any discussion? Scrolling through. I don't see any of the online commissioners' hands raised. Seeing as there's no discussion, Tammy, would you like to call the vote?
Commissioner Masseri,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Dalen,
Yes.
Commissioner Barton, you're in the mix this time. Was that a yes?
Commissioner Barton, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Douglas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lund.
Yes.
That is 6 yeses and that carries.
Great. We'll move on to the second part of our agenda tonight. The proposed zoning code amendments to the text of the urban residential district, the urban residential medium density district, the urban residential mixed district, the general commercial district, resort commercial district, and supplementary requirements and definitions. Matt, take it away.
Thank you. So for the record, again, my name is Matt Ahmet, representing Planning and Development Services. So this evening, we're going to discuss proposed amendments to the 7 chapters of the county zoning code just mentioned and that are on the screen. The buildable lands report pointed out to the need for higher densities and additional land capacity for residential uses in the Birch Bay urban growth area. But the amendments also apply to other areas in the county, and we'll note those in the presentation. The proposed zoning text amendments include allowing smaller minimum lot sizes, reducing setbacks, requiring minimum net densities, and defining minimum net density. Okay, so we're going to kind of start from the end, and we're proposing a definition of minimum net density in the zoning code. And the proposal would add minimum net density requirements in certain zoning districts. And some zoning districts in the county code already require minimum net densities. And these districts have a brief statement describing the term, but there's no comprehensive definition in the zoning code. So that's why we're proposing a new definition. So minimum net density is the fewest number of residential units per acre that must be constructed, for multifamily, or lots per acre that must be created when platting land. The minimum net density is calculated based upon the buildable land after deducting a number of things which are shown on the screen, like floodplain, critical area buffers, shoreline setbacks, land for, road right-of-way or easements or utilities, stormwater tracks, that type of thing. And also in a mixed-use development, land devoted to, commercial development or other non-residential uses. So most zoning districts that allow residential uses already have a maximum gross density. The existing zoning code defines gross density, and it's calculated based upon the entire area of the parcel without any deductions, kind of illustrated on the left-hand side. Some zoning districts in the county already require minimum net densities, and that's calculated based upon the buildable area of the parcel after deducting critical areas, roads, stormwater, etc. And that's kind of roughly illustrated on the right side. But as mentioned, there's no comprehensive definition of minimum net density in the zoning code, so we're proposing such a definition. So how do minimum net density and maximum gross density kind of work together in practice? And we're going to look at an example here. So let's look at this theoretical 10-acre parcel. It's zoned urban residential medium, 6 dwellings per acre. So in the proposed regulation, there would be a minimum net density of 6 dwellings per net acre. And under the existing code, there already is a maximum gross density of 6 dwellings per gross acre. So that net and gross in red are important terms there. As far as minimum net density goes, it's based upon the buildable portion of the parcel after deductions, after taking out the critical areas, road right-of-way, etc. So on this theoretical 10-acre parcel, if you had 6 acres of deductions in the critical areas and roads and so forth, you would have 4 acres of buildable land left. So the developer would be required to plat a minimum of 24 lots, as 4 net buildable acres times 6 lots per acre equals 24 lots. So that's kind of the floor, you might say. The existing code, URM 6, imposes maximum gross density limits. So gross density is based upon the entire area of the parcel, regardless of how many wetlands or buffers or that type of thing you have, or other site constraints. So on the same 10-acre parcel, the developer could plat as many as 60 lots, if it was feasible given the critical areas and other constraints. So 10 gross acres times 6 lots per acre would equal 60 lots. So that would be kind of the ceiling. So in this example, at least 24 lots would have to be created on this parcel, but no more than 60 could be created. So between 24 and 60. And we would like to propose a minor change to the definition of minimum net density in your packet. When determining the buildable land, the land encumbered by both critical area and shoreline regulations would be deducted. So we would like to just insert an and between those two terms. It's land restricted from development by critical area regulations and shoreline regulations. So that's an official staff amendment there. So let's look at each of the zoning districts. So the proposal includes just minor amendments to the urban residential or UR zone. The UR zone is located in 7 of the 10 UGAs in the county, as shown on the screen. And so we're proposing minor changes to recognize that this zoning district already has minimum net densities in addition to maximum gross densities. So we're proposing to delete the brief description of minimum net density that's in this zone because we're adding a comprehensive definition to the code. And we're also changing that term of maximum density just to density requirements to recognize we have that minimum to maximum. So like a lot of zones, the urban residential district, urban residential medium district allows different densities in different areas. So the URM 6 zone applies in Birch Bay and Linden urban growth areas, and it currently has a maximum density of 6 dwellings per acre, but not a minimum density. Therefore, land in the UGA could be developed at densities lower than specified in the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan for the Birch Bay UGA. which specifies a range of between 5 and 10 dwellings per acre. So requiring a minimum net density when public water and sewer are available will ensure development in the Birch Bay UGA is consistent with the comp plan. And we would note that cities typically do not extend public water and sewer outside their city limits. So this amendment really would not have much of an effect on the Linden urban growth area unless the city made an exception or changed their policy of not extending public water and sewer. URM 12 zone has all been annexed. So there is no land in unincorporated Whatcom County with the zoning designation. So we're proposing to delete it from the code. URM 18 units per acre, theoretically, only applies in the Bellingham UGA. And this zone currently has a maximum gross density, but not a minimum net density for residential development. And again, minimum net densities would only apply when public water and sewer are available. Under current policy, the city of Bellingham normally does not extend public water and sewer outside city limits. So this amendment, which would require minimum net density when public water and sewer are available, again, may not have much of an effect on the Bellingham UGA unless the city made an exception or changes their policy. URMX, urban residential mixed, only applies in the Bellingham urban growth area. And there are only minor changes to this zone, similar to the changes in the UR zone described earlier. Okay, so we're moving on to general commercial that allows commercial and residential development. So the general commercial zone applies in the Birch Bay UGA, Bellingham UGA, and Columbia Valley UGA. And this zone currently does not have minimum net densities. Therefore, in the Birch Bay UGA, land could be developed at densities lower than specified in the county comp plan, which again is at 5 to 10 range. So requiring a minimum net density in the Birch Bay UGA when public water and sewer are available will ensure that development is consistent with the comp plan. Okay, moving on to the resort commercial district, and this also allows residential development. So the RC zone applies to the Birch Bay UGA and the Point Roberts and Glacier Lammerts, or limited areas of more intense rural development. And it also currently does not have minimum densities. Therefore, land in the Birch Bay UGA again could be developed at densities lower than specified in the comp plan. So requiring a minimum net density in the Birch Bay UGA when public water and sewer are available will again ensure development is consistent with the comp plan. And then there are other changes to this zone, provisions requiring public water and sewer for residential development in the Birch Bay UGA, and also allowing smaller lot sizes in the GC zone. So the supplementary requirements, County Code 20.80 in the zoning code, covers a variety of topics, including setbacks. So the setback table in the zoning code normally requires a 5-foot side and rear yard setback in the resort commercial district. However, there are special provisions in the zoning code that require 20-foot side and rear yard setbacks for multifamily housing, RV parks, and mobile home parks in the resort commercial zone. And different sections of the code that are not being amended tonight relating to mobile home parks and RV parks also require a 20-foot setback. Therefore, the effect of deleting this particular section in our proposal would eliminate the 20-foot setback for multifamily housing only, as those other sections of the code would still require a 20-foot setback for mobile home and RV parks. So in summary, the proposal would establish minimum net densities for several zoning districts and urban growth areas. It would allow smaller lot sizes for efficient development. It would reduce setbacks. And it also create a definition of minimum net density. So that concludes our presentation. So if you had any questions, we try to address those.
Are there any questions? Kelvin?
Yes, Matt, we sometime back changed resort commercial to allowing individual lots. I won't be able to describe all of it. We did this at Planning Commission several years ago when it was adopted. One of the restrictions we had is that we said it can't happen in the flood zone area. And the change we've seen between that time and now is pretty well everything that's being built along in what's considered the flood area of Birch Bay is being built 3 and 4 and sometimes even 5 feet of foundation. So it's well above the flood area. Is there any consideration? So let me back up a little more. The reason we went to the small lots for resort commercial is because it seemed that the projects were getting away from condominiums. And in fact, there's only a couple of parcels left that you could actually put condominiums on, but yet there are quite a number of lots that could have multiple small houses on them. Is there any consideration, or would it be feasible to remove that restriction for small lots down in the flood area, providing that houses or cottages need to be built on a foundation that would take them above the floodplain? Is that a possibility?
So you referring to the density credit proposal that we did a couple of years
Well, we had that, and I don't remember exactly what it was, and almost all of the resort commercial is down in what would be considered the flood area or potential flood area. And there's a small bit of resort commercial up on the hill above the flood area. And disclaimer, I have no connection with any of the parcels that thinking particularly of what we call the Carroll Creek Villa. But I know he would like to develop, and I don't think he can do the small lot, small houses that we talked about because he's in the flood area and we restricted them to being above the floodplain. Is there any consideration to allow the small lot, small houses if they're built above the flood, the floodplain?
Well,
So-
we have flood requirements in Title 17, but I mean,
Yes.
under zoning, if you have a non-conforming lot that was legally established, you can build a house on it, assuming you meet the flood regulations. But I think the code amendment that I recall is the density credit, where you're getting additional lots if you're subdividing. If you
Yes,
buy-
but what we were looking at when we did this is we were trying to, because so many of the parcels are getting not condominiums or apartments, but they're getting houses on them. And so we're losing the resort commercial density that the comprehensive plan calls for. So we came up with a concept, and it's been probably at least a half a dozen years ago, where it was a 0 lot line. And so the houses would be built against a 0 lot line. And then assuming the one behind it is going to take the lot line farthest away from their neighbor. And we restricted it to the non-flood area. And so that is up across from the Birch Bay water slides is the predominant area it would apply. I think we did have some trading, but at any rate, we were trying to increase the density because that seems to be, the condominiums aren't as popular as they used to be. And I know we had a flood issue there. So we restricted it to the part of the resort commercial that was not down along the waterfront.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the one I was involved with was the density credit, so I'm not sure what that one was. I know that in this proposal, though, if we look at, we are proposing to reduce the minimum lot size. See here. So single family right now requires a 6,000 square foot lot for new subdivisions. And this would reduce that to 3,000 square foot. Again, if you have an existing, just a single lot, you can normally build, if it's legally established, you meet all the setbacks, all of that, and
Yeah.
you meet the flood requirements. you know, you can build a single family house on a single lot. So
Yeah.
are you talking about subdividing or just building on an existing?
Well, what we did is we implemented a small lot where you could go 0 lot line because resort commercial is 22 units per acre. And Whatcom County is encouraging that build out to meet their population projections. And it was just, since now we're seeing, and so we adopted it that way where it was restricted from the floodplain area, but now we're seeing everything is being built with foundations that are going up well above the floodplain. And I'm wondering if those codes should be amended to take that into consideration or as a requirement when you build down there.
Well, I mean, we do have a flood code that, you know, requires certain elevations. So I guess you'd have to let me know what that ordinance was. I'd probably have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It will probably take some time for us
Okay.
to look it up. I think it went through about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I think I'm the only one left on the planning commission from then, or almost the only one left. So I wanted to ask about that, but maybe we could talk about it at a different time.
Okay.
Right.
Are there any other questions for staff about this presentation on the zoning code amendment? I pass through. Seeing as there are none, Tammy, would you like to open the public hearing on this?
Okay. So with the public hearing open, I just want to remind you, the meeting is being broadcast live and the audio is being recorded to the county website. So if you're participating remotely and you would like to speak on this topic, please virtually raise your hand. You can do it by pressing the hand icon if you're on the tablet. Okay, we do have a hand raised. So what we'll do is I'm just going to switch to a 3-minute timer. The speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Let me just get that up. Okay, and my back on. Okay, so Matt Berry, you're going to go ahead and speak. You'll have 3 minutes, and the timer will show you 3 minutes, and you can go ahead, announce your name for the record, please.
Hello, my name's Matt Berry. I live out in Birch Bay on Birch Bay Drive here. And I guess the only thing I wanted to add is if you're talking about increasing the density out here, which I think is a great idea, and there's any possibility of generating, you know, a new influx of applications to planning and development, please make sure that planning and development has the resources available to process the applications in a timely manner. I'm personally in the process of trying to increase the density on my own property, and it's a time-consuming process and difficult to be patient. So if this has the potential to affect many more property owners, please make sure that they have planning development has the resources to handle the influx of potential applications. But I think it's a great idea, and it's no mystery why so many people want to live in Birch Bay. But thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation as well. That did a lot to explain what you're trying to do here, and I think it's all great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And there are no other attendees or speakers tonight.
Thank you, Matt. That will close the public hearing on this matter, and commissioners will begin our work session. Commissioner Mosseri.
Yeah, I had 2 questions or just comments on Exhibit B, the urban residential chart. I don't know if you want to bring it up.
Sure.
So up there at the top at the URM
Mhm.
in the chart itself. So you propose to delete the second one because the densities are the same, whether or not it's got public utilities or not.
Mhm.
But I thought it might be a little confusing if you just leave the top one saying all densities without public sewer. Because then it does lead me to think, oh, well, what about if they do have public sewer? So I didn't know if it needed to just say URM or URM, with or without public utilities on that top line.
Yeah, I guess our thought was, if it's only got water, not sewer, then it, then it doesn't have both of them. It's without water and sewer. We could leave it, we could put it back in if you think that's confusing. We're just trying to simplify it a little bit, but.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think you needed to put that line in. I thought that maybe you needed to address it at the top one. And maybe, and maybe I'm not getting the nuance between it, but I thought the top one said if it has it, and if the bottom one says that it doesn't, or the top one says you don't have the hookups, the second URM says you do have the hookups, but they're the same, then yeah, you don't need both. Can't you just say in the URM in general, or are you saying the URM in general without hookups is that, and then all those subsequent ones are with hookups?
Yeah, so if you have to have public water and sewer to get urban density. So if you don't have both of them, then it's 1 unit per 10 acre. If you just had water, for example, it's 1 unit.
Yeah, okay, all right, that makes sense. And then the other thing I just noticed is it looked like in this chart, for whatever reason, you had the minimum net density on top and then went to the maximum gross density. And yet in other charts, you have the maximum gross density listed first and then the minimum net density. So it's kind of a minor thing, but
Oh, here?
yeah, just this whole chart, for whatever reason, listed minimum net densities first and then maximum gross densities versus the other charts had maximum gross densities on top and then minimum densities.
Okay, well, we can switch that around if
So just take a look. It seemed like this was the only one that had them switched versus the other ones were all consistent.
Okay, well, if the commission wants to change that, I don't have a problem with that. That'll be easy.
Yeah, just take a look at it. If you think it makes sense to have them all. I thought it made sense to have them all consistent, the way they're laid out.
Did you have anything else to add, Commissioner Mosseri?
That's all I got. Thanks.
Are there other commissioner questions? Comments? Commissioner Burton?
I did want to comment that I own property in Resort Commercial. And comments I make have nothing to do with whether I vote for it or not, but it looks like we have enough here. I am going to abstain on the vote just so that it looks nice and clean and that I was not influenced by what's been proposed.
Thanks for that, Commissioner Burton. Other commissioner comments or questions? Or an interest in making a motion?
Make a motion to approve. And accept the finding of facts.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
We
Do
have
you-
a motion.
Oh, do you want me to move that minimum density below the maximum? Was that part of the motion or?
If you think that makes sense, I think it makes sense to have all the charts laid out in the same order.
Okay, we'll do that.
I would agree with that. So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Discussion? Seeing as there is none, Tammy, would you like to call the vote?
Commissioner Van Dalen,
Yes.
Commissioner Barton abstains, Commissioner Dahlquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes,
Commissioner Masseri,
Yes,
Commissioner Lund.
Yes.
That is 5 yeses and 1 abstaining, so that carries.
So I have just one process question. Normally I have the chair sign the planning commission findings. So how do you want to handle that this time for the CIP and the Birch Bay or for the zoning code?
Well, we kind of co-chaired tonight. I don't see that it's going to be a legal problem if, well, actually, neither one of us are there right now to sign. So,
But I'm gonna, yeah, I'll have to email it out.
okay.
Matt, if you email it to me, I can sign it and turn it into a PDF
That'd be
and
great.
return it. Yeah,
Okay. Sounds good.
great. All right, well, I'll close our work session on this and move on to any other unfinished business. Any other commissioner comments or unfinished business? It looks like there are none. So with that, I'll call the May 11th Planning Commission meeting to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you, Kim. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Everyone enjoy this sunny weather weekend.